And there's one case that stands out. Not of cancer, but in a way even more impressive. It's a case which has profound significance for those trying to crack the placebo code, because it's vivid proof of just how powerful suggestion can be. This is East Grinstead. During the Second World War, it was known as the town that doesn't stare, because it was where servicemen with terrible facial injuries were rebuilt by Britain's leading plastic surgeons. But the Queen Victoria Hospital was a place of hope for those disfigured by birth too. And it was here in 1952 that a young doctor called Albert Mason was working as an anaesthetist, unaware that an interest in hypnosis was about to change his life forever.
One day I was about to give an anesthetic, and the case was wheeled in, and the boy, it was a young man of 15, was covered with millions of warts. The surgeon had been trying to graft skin from the boy's chest, which didn't have these warts, onto his hands. And he was kind of disgusted with himself because he'd made the boy's hands really a bit worse. So I said to the surgeon, being young and rather cocky, I said, why don't you treat him with hypnotism? Because I thought this was warts. And the surgeon looked at me pityingly and said, why don't you? And walked out of the theatre.
It's long been known that hypnosis can sometimes make warts vanish, although no one truly knows why. Mason himself had used the technique several times, with great success, and so the very next day he hypnotized the boy.
And I said to him, the warts will fall off your right arm and new skin will grow, which will be soft and normal. And I sent him away and told him to come back in a week.
When the boy returned, it was clear the hypnosis had worked. In fact, the change was startling. This is the boy's arm before hypnosis, and here it is after Mason had hypnotized him.
And I smiled and I said, well, that's very good, we'll go and show Mr. Moore, the surgeon. And took the boy around to the theatre, and Moore was operating at the time with the big glass windows there in East Grinstead. And I stood outside and I held up both these boys' arms, the one untreated and the one treated. And Moore looked, and his eyes became like saucers, and he handed his knife over to his assistant and came out, and he looked at this. He said, good God. I said, well, I told you warts go. He said, warts? This isn't warts, he said. This is congenital ichthyosiform erythrodermia of Brock. He was born with it. It's incurable.
What Albert Mason had done was impossible. This young boy had been born with a condition which made his skin thickened and cracked, like an elephant's hide. Victims suffer endless skin infections, which ultimately prove fatal. Most die in childhood. But Albert Mason's patient lived. New pink skin grew on almost all his body. It saved his life, and the young Londoner, who'd been badly bullied at school because of his strange appearance, was able to go home to a normal life, purely because of the power of suggestion.